Alrighty, everybody. Welcome back to Wilderness Wize. I'm Gage Gall. This is part 2 of Chasing Ghosts. All grind, no glory.
I'm Gage Gall. I didn't grow up on pavement. I grew up on dirt, blood, and cold mornings. Hunting and fishing weren't hobbies. They were how we filled the freezer. How we learned patience, respect, and how to survive. I learned those lessons alongside my family, with friends who became brothers, with stories that got passed around the campfire. Fewer people grow up that way now, and every year we are losing more than just hunters and anglers. We lose a connection. That's why I started Wilderness Wize, to bring people back to the woods, to pass down the kind of lessons that come from blood trails, missed shots, cold hands, and long nights tracking. You'll hear from the folks who taught me, bled with me, and still walk these woods today. So if you're ready to learn the hard way, the right way, lace up your boots, pour your coffee, and let's get wise.
Alright, let me explain where we're at right now. So we worked our way in here. There's a meadow off to our right a little bit. There is a meadow further that direction off to the left. The other side of this hill where we're on, there's potential bedding cover. And there's a creek right out in front of us that runs right down through this gorge. It's steep walled on both sides. So we got two potential feeding areas, potential bedding area, and a route for them to come down. Now the opposite side of the gorge is all thick, dead fall, heavy rock, and not that super affects elk a lot, but it does affect us climbing down it. So we're set up on this side. We found a rub down here, which would indicate that there's probably been an elk down here. Dad said it felt like it was still leaking sap, so it's fairly recent. So I'm gonna sit back for a little bit. About 5 o'clock, we're gonna do a little bit of calling and see if we can't turn something up here.
Alright, back at the truck, as you can see, before daylight, or before darkness. You guys could probably see me doing a call sequence. And then, I'm not sure if you could hear it, but twig snapped over top. Not sure if it was an elk or not. Not sure exactly what it was at all, because the wind shifted at that moment. Pulled the scent back up that direction. So
We'll never know.
we will never fully know. But sucks, because you kind of like to think that it was an elk, but at the same time, like Dad said, we'll never know. So we're gonna have to. We just had to pull out. Wind was still swirling. We didn't really figure it was pertinent to sit in there any longer, so we're gonna head back to camp. We gotta filter some water tonight so we can have enough for the next couple days. And then we're going to go glass that drainage that I found on Onyx, and we'll see where we can go from there.
So we're going to talk a little bit about thermals real fast. Just some stuff that we learned while we were out there that we didn't really ever think about coming from back east. Out east here, Michigan, Black Country, Ohio, places like that, we deal a lot with winds, prevailing winds especially. And that's how we hunt our whitetails and other game animals, black bears, stuff like that. We play to that wind. Now in the mountains, the thermals play a much bigger role as a general whole. And what you always hear guys tell you is that thermals sink all night, like 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. They start to switch and they rise up the mountain. And then later in the afternoon, they fall back down. Which sounds logical and makes sense. Because when stuff gets heated up, heat rises, which pulls the air up the mountain. And then when it cools off at night, it sinks back down. And they're right. It does do that. But what you don't think about is all the topography that plays into that, along with prevailing winds, or any winds for that matter. So, when you're in a situation like the one we have right here, and I'm going to use this little piece right here as an example. If I am standing right here on the very top of this ridge, depending on which side of the crest here I'm on, determines where my scent blows. So I'm standing a little bit over here. My scent is going to pull down this side and pull down the hill this way. If I'm standing over here on this side a little bit, my scent's going to pull down the hill this way. Why does that matter? It matters because an elk can smell you from a long ways off. So, when you're afternoon hunting and you get that switch, you want to make sure that your scent switches into dead timber. The way to do that is to know what direction that scent is going to go when it happens. Now, when you play the winds into that factor as well, so this creates a little U shape right here where this mountain comes in. I'll zoom in a little bit if possible. You see how this bowls right here? If I have a wind coming in from this direction, it is going to come in, scoop through this bowl, and come out the other side. Now, with that being said, if I have a thermal that is pulling up at the same time, I'm going to get a wind that does one of these numbers. Elk will bed right in this area because when that wind is pulling up and when that wind is coming through, it creates this nice circular wind pattern. Elk live and die by their nose. So, if you're running into problems with getting winded, that's probably your issue. Another thing to watch yourself in. I can find one very quick, like something like right here. Got a high point here and a high point here. Low point in between, that's called a saddle. So I've got, especially in the afternoon, even in the mornings though, I have a wind coming up from this side. I've got a wind coming up from this side. And if I have a prevailing wind that's hitting either of these ridges, it's coming down through here or it's coming down through here. Again, creating a nice circular wind pattern right in the middle. Now, elk like to use these corridors for a couple reasons. A, when they come up through there, they have easier access. They don't have to climb over this steep ridge to get over. 2, they get that spinning wind pattern again, which allows them to feel safe because their nose knows what's going on. So, watch the wind when you guys are out there and try to start predicting it as you're going through. Now, this is not the area we're hunting, but this is an area I actually just picked a random spot on the maps, to be very honest with you. just tried to find some different terrain features to make it easy to explain. So, hope that helps you understand thermals a little bit. So what we're going to do tonight is we have that wallow that we found the other day. And we're going to try to get in on that, get above it. How we're going to do that is we're going to sneak in the south side of the ridge, mountain, whatever you want to call it. We're going to come back over the top so that when we crest that hill, our scent's all blowing up with the thermals. At least fingers crossed. So hopefully we can get on something above that wallow tonight, but we'll see.
That's everything you got. Alright, so right now we got a thunderhead over our heads right now. Waiting to see if it's gonna rain. So we're staying on this south-facing slope, waiting to pop over so we can hunt tonight. But we're gonna play it by ear, try to make sure we don't get wet. If you can hear in the background, we got some thunder rolling, so. Well, folks, welcome to the West. One moment, you're trying to sneak up on an elk. You can hear some thunderclaps. And now, it's raining. So, it's a cheap little rain poncho that I carry. It's got some grommets down the corner so you can fly it out with some 50-50 cord. Paid off today. Dad's still back there in his poncho that didn't have grommets. So we couldn't fly that one out, but we're working on trying to stay dry as we sit here and wait out the storm. Alright, we scaled the mountain, came up over the top. We're in position. We're just over top of this wallow. It's actually off to our left over here just a little ways. We're sitting in some pretty heavy deadfall. And it kind of seems like potentially that there could be a single bull or something like that rolling down through here. We found some scat. Not super fresh, but it is sign up here. We're sitting right about 10,000 foot band. So what I think he's doing is he's running this ridge top. And scent checking. There's two different wallows we found. I think he's scent checking both of those before committing to either one. So right now we're above this trail. Thermals are still going up. If that switches, we will drop down rapidly to get below where we think he's going to be coming through at. That way he doesn't wind us. I can hear the thunder rolling over the top of this mountain. Hopefully it stays on the other side of the mountain. So, fingers crossed we can get in on something. Alright. So as you can see, it's raining pretty decent. We took Dad's parka, laid it across our laps. Did I mention we're at 10,000 feet in elevation and it's a thunderstorm? Surrounded by trees. So, it's all fun in the elk woods. Never a dull moment. Alright. So we are getting out of here. I don't know if you can see around me, but we're in massive deadfall area. That thunderstorm just rolled through. Wasn't super intense. Looks off to the west. Looks like there's more clouds coming in. So we're gonna start heading up this mountain. I want to be over top of this mountain before the next one rolls in, if possible.
take a breather for a second. Take a breather. I don't think you gotta worry about a storm no more. And that is how quick it changes out here in the mountains. We were expecting another storm. Look out there. Looks like it's pretty clear. But it's close to the end of the hunt as it is. I'm not dropping back down in there. If there's a bull coming, I already scared him, but all the sign we were seeing down in there was old. So we'll just probably slow walk our way out of here. See if we pick anything else up on the way out. Alright. This is the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. It doesn't look like much, but it is tracking. You can track by just following the sign in the pine needles like that. You don't gotta have fresh dirt or sand or something like that. So pay attention to all sign. So as luck would have it that night, we did end up seeing elk. Unfortunately, the camera was not rolling when we saw them. Basically what happened is as we were coming over the top, elk were coming one way, we were coming the other. We happened to cross paths at about 30 yards, and unfortunately, the elk saw us before we saw the elk. Alright, so we're set up. Not sure if the elk are gonna move through here tonight. They were the other night. So, as you can hear, it's pretty windy. I don't even know if you're going to be able to hear this or not. But we got wind blowing in my face right now. Thermal shift should take it downhill from here and off to my left flank, hopefully. So yeah, hopefully when the elk come in here, we're just sitting here ready, waiting for them. Well, not sure where those cows were tonight. Honestly couldn't tell you. Best bet that I have is that they maybe moved their route pattern off a little bit because we bumped them the other night. But to be very honest, I have no idea. So tomorrow morning, we're gonna go try to get on that bull that was bugling this morning. Hopefully he's still willing to talk and we can get on him. Tomorrow's the last day of hunting before we gotta go home, so fingers crossed we can get it done. Alright, last day, end of the grind session. Let's go find him. So we got up to elevation now. With where I suspect this bull is bedded. Should be back that way. We did that so when the thermals start to raise here in a little bit, and very shortly, we want to make sure that it's blowing up and our scent's not dragging up to this bull, because that'll get him right out of here. And then we're about a ridge over maybe too. There's a nice elk trail. Or right into the ground right there. That goes up to a saddle. And then from that saddle it goes into a meadow. So I'm assuming that this is a transition zone from bedding to feeding. Which as you can see, back under the tarp again. As it started raining, we hung her a little higher this time because we're not sitting on the wet ground. But fun stuff, man. Wet couple days.
So we've pulled up here along this old logging road. And, honestly, that rain earlier soaked my feet. So we're gonna hang out here for a little while. It's about noon. We're gonna wait a couple hours maybe. Then we'll get up and try to move into a position to get on some elk, but I don't know, it's been a long trip, so we'll see if we can get it done tonight.
Wet feet are not good. Try to throw them over that log to dry out a little bit, get the boots dried out in the sun. But go from there. Alrighty, folks, so we're gonna make a move. We're gonna keep going down this logging trail. Wind picked up, didn't rain too hard, but I am cold, like cold. So we're gonna do a little short hike, head out to some meadows. Hopefully the elk go out to feed in the evening. Hopefully in that amount of hiking, I can warm up a little bit.
Alright, so I've warmed up a little bit from that hike. I've pulled back off this meadow edge a little ways. It's about 3:30 in the afternoon. I've got a run that runs right down towards me. I think it's still part of that old logging road. Dad set up right on the meadow's edge. I pulled back from him. Probably 20-30 yards. I can't see him anymore. So hopefully we're going to do a calling sequence and try to pull something through that meadow. Kind of a last ditch effort. It's probably going to come across a little aggressive. But why not, right? Last day.
So we're back at the truck, as you can see, packing everything in. Mental game finally wore us out. Physical game as well. But I'm going to show you a little bit of something. And this is why foot care is so important in the field. All that white skin, don't let that become your feet. Keep your feet dry, carry extra socks, whatever you gotta do. But if your feet get wet, get them dried out. Foot care is super important, especially when you're walking long miles on it. So, there's your little foot care tip for the week. Keep your feet dry. Well, no elk this time, but that's okay. Out here, success isn't always measured by meat in the freezer. Every mile, every mistake, and every sunrise teaches us something new. Here at Wilderness Wize, we're not just chasing tags. We're building something bigger. We're here to pass it on, to teach, to share, and to bring new hunters into the field the right way. Because this lifestyle, the patience, the grit, the connection to our wild places, it's worth sharing. So if you've thought about hunting, didn't know where to start, you're looking to mentor somebody else, you belong here. Hit subscribe, follow along, and help us grow this community. One step, 1 mile, and one new hunter at a time. Stay wild, stay sharp, and as always, stay wise. We'll catch you guys next time.